about, I think, maybe 10 or 9 or 10 episodes ago, we had first talked about the Jontay Porter betting scandal. There was a bunch of prop bets that popped up along like January, February, and typically prop bets for two-way players are not even a thing. Like they don't even happen for like high-end role players. They're mainly for stars. And you would see him intentionally just being removed from the game. And it came out in March or April that he was betting on his team to lose, and he was just betting on everything in general. And Adam Silver levied down a lifetime ban from the NBA on Jontay Porter. And we hadn't really heard much about this until about a few hours ago, where a tweet came out saying Jontay Porter has pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud in a case tied to a betting scandal from earlier this year and can face up to 4 years in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is wire fraud?
I don't know. I'm going to look it up right now.
Anthony, tell us.
So there's different ways you could send money to people.
Oh, yeah, the wire transfer.
You can wire someone money instantaneously and they get it on the other side of the world right away if they go to the exact bank.
Right.
Got you.
So the fraud part of that
Listen to this.
is
I have the definition right here. AI just told me. It says wire fraud is a federal crime that involves using electronic communication to commit financial fraud. That's basically what you said, but it's the fraud version of it.
Essentially, yeah.
So it can include a range of crimes from small-scale phishing emails to large-scale schemes like money laundering.
Wow.
that would probably go hand in hand with the bets.
Yeah.
So I have an article from Bleacher Report here. It says Porter entered the plea during his arraignment at a New York federal court and was set to be released on a $250K bond. Any professional athlete's going to be released on bond no matter what, unless it's like a really heinous crime. His case is related to the ongoing prosecution of 4 other men who were arraigned on a charge of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. None of those men has entered the plea deal yet. It says, during his court appearance on Wednesday, Porter admitted to withdrawing himself early from games so he and his co-conspirators could win bets based on his performances. He also faced large gambling debts as he was attempting to clear. So he was in two-way players make anywhere from like $300,000 to $400,000, sometimes a little bit more depending on how good the team is. And he somehow found himself in gambling debt as an NBA player. I really don't know what else to say as far as that goes. And in court, he says, I know what I did was wrong, unlawful, and I am deeply sorry.
Wow.
Right. Don't know if he's necessarily sorry because, he got caught.
He might just want less years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There will be a
Admitting.
plea deal, yeah.
We've seen a lot of betting stuff happening. We saw baseball, football. I don't think we've seen any cases where athletes have been in debt. I think this is the first time. I don't think when Calvin Ridley got suspended, he was in debt. I think he was just betting on the games.
For who?
Calvin Ridley.
Oh, Calvin Ridley, yeah. I mean, he's been in the NFL a while.
Yeah, I don't think he was in debt. I know one of the MLB prospects got banned this year for life. I don't think he was in debt. I think this is the first time we've been hearing that an athlete's in debt.
Right.
That's he's trying to get the money back.
It also
Yeah,
it also says, I'm sorry, Porter is scheduled to be sentenced on December 18th and faces a punishment ranging from just under 3.5 years in prison to a little over 4 years. Because he pleaded guilty, he's going to serve time. It's just a matter of how much.
Right.
Because he's also subject to hundreds of dollars in restitution and potential fines.
It's not much for him. He's in debt. So
he's in debt.
He's in debt.
Keep in mind, and obviously, I'm sure Mike's going to help him out a little bit, but
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, he has the money, but it's not Jontay's money.
Right.
It's his money.
It's his brother.
Right. But it's his brother, though.
Yeah.
If your brother was in jail, you might.
He's been
help him out as much as he can.
That family's been going through, and Mike's on a max contract. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But even still, like, how do you get to that point as just a person, let alone an athlete?
Well, it's possible. Like just like with anything bad or any quote unquote sin, it always starts small, right?
Right.
So like it doesn't go straight from being a normal person to jumping into money laundering and all that stuff. It starts small and it eases on and it gets progressively worse, little by little, step by step.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with what he's dealing with, and honestly, what the entire world is dealing with. So
Yeah,
This-
I don't think it's ever something that will get fixed. Essentially,
No.
Yeah.
It's a mental thing, of course, with Jontay and a lot of people that have problems with sports gambling. But I think with things like this, we have to blame the leagues because every league has a sportsbook sponsor now, and they were heavily against it before it became a thing, and now it's sort of the opposite. We're like, oh, please give us all, because they know how much money they're getting.
Right.
Every game you turn on, there's a prop bet or a parlay for that game that's on that is made into a graphic.
yeah,
And we see it. Obviously, the players don't because they're playing the game, but we see it. I'm sure the players also are aware of what bets are on. I mean, I don't know. They probably don't care about prop bets, but they probably know what the over-under is.
Right.
well, they always
certain
do
amount.
because they're. I mean, a lot of them have deals with the companies.
FanDuel or
LeBron has a deal with DraftKings,
Yeah.
and it's like. It's weird. It's just like it almost seems hypocritical from like the NBA's perspective at times because they're shoving FanDuel and DraftKings and BetMGM and Underdog down our throats, and
They have the logo on the court
Yeah.
for FanDuel.
so it's like maybe if this is a problem, maybe you shouldn't be messing with these companies. That's almost kind of like maybe let them operate independendly,
yeah,
so these things wouldn't happen. But because it's all in house, it's easier for athletes to gamble on themselves.
oh yeah,
essentially.
I can see why it's easy for an athlete, especially an athlete that's not making as much money,
Right.
to get themselves caught up into that because it's like a quick
Yeah.
$1,000 here and there.
Yep.
And you can control outcomes. It's like that temptation is so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
As an athlete, I think it's perfectly fine for them to bet on a sport, but it cannot be their own sport they play, their own team,
Yeah.
and
That-
also
that they can. They
and
can do
also
that.
yes, that's perfectly fine. But do not bet on your team, yourself, or on the sport you play.
Right.
That's the only thing that I have for that.
Right. To me, like, look, I have an issue with this, and I don't because to me at least, whenever you're tarnishing the integrity of the game, when you have the power to impact something,
Yeah.
that's a problem, and that can't be allowed. And I'm glad they levied that kind of punishment on Jontay Porter. But part of why I don't like it, and I'll get to the other part in a minute, but Jontay Porter is close to a nobody in the league. He was a two-way player. He barely played. He was just starting to play semi-decent. What happens if it's someone known? What happens if it's an all-star?
I was just gonna bring up this question. Is that we were always talking about it? What if it's somebody notable,
Right.
like Calvin Ridley, who probably was the most notable name that's not basketball.
He wasn't
name.
all that notable, though.
Well, it's not that he wasn't all that notable. The NFL is not as strict with those kind
Yeah.
of punishments. He only got suspended for a season. What if it happened to, let's not even think of like a superstar. What if it happened to like someone like Fred VanVleet? Someone that's an all-star, but someone that's like well known but not like a superstar. How would the punishment be if it was someone notable? If Adam Silver had balls, he would levy down the same punishment to everybody.
Yeah.
But knowing the way leagues operate, that's not what happens. They're strong with the weak and they're weak with the strong.
Well,
Yeah.
I would argue that Fred VanVleet is replaceable. They could find someone like that. If we're talking a star, I'm thinking like if Jason Tatum gets caught, if Steph Curry gets caught, if Anthony Davis that's someone that changes
Yeah.
your team for the future.
Well, the good news, you'll never have to worry about Tatum betting because he'll never be old enough.
No, and also he's making
Or-
that
N-
new
an-
contract he got is insane. So there's no reason.
Another thing is what if a top rookie gets caught betting before he even plays an NBA
Oh,
game?
they'll kick them out instantly. Like I said, even if it's like, unless it's someone like Wemby, a rookie has not had enough time in the league to do anything.
Yeah.
They'll just get yeeted out of there.
Yeah, I think if it's a star, if it's a superstar, or if it's like a guy like Wemby, like a potential new face of the NBA,
Yeah.
I think they're going to keep everything on the very, very down low, not tell anyone.
Exactly what they'll do.
It's going to be
and
handled in
keep it under the radar.
behind closed doors.
Exactly.
'Cause-
Have a secret meeting and be like, yeah,
Yep.
we're not going to do anything, but we're just going to tell Wemby or whoever it is,
They'll give them
don't
a secret,
do this
like
anymore.
a secret fine.
Yeah.
Or they'll
Or get training classes on free. Or
Well, they'll
just
do
get
that regardless.
Mentoring.
But they'll do like a silent suspension. So
Right.
they'll suspend him for a month. Let's say they'll say, oh, you have like a hamstring injury.
Right.
They'll sit him out for a month, and that'll be
Yeah.
kind of like that. But I want to know from both of you, if let's say it was a superstar, let's say it was Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
If he was caught doing the same exact thing as Jontay Porter, what would you do?
What would we do as the commissioner?
If you were if it was Commissioner Giovanni Squatteri
Okay.
and Commissioner Anthony Cavino, and if this happened, the same exact thing happened with Steph Curry or LeBron James or whoever, what would be your punishment? What would you levy down onto that, knowing what Adam Silver did to Jontay Porter?
Justice would be served.
You do the same thing.
Justice would be served. It doesn't matter who you are,
Yeah.
what your name is.
Yeah.
If you did it, you did it.
It's all about
I
consistency.
think you have to give the same thing to everybody because then you're opening up a whole different can of worms from the media, and you could open up other lawsuits from other places, like if Jontay would want to sue Adam Silver for not giving the same punishment to somebody
Right.
else.
Right.
Right.
You have you have lawsuits upon lawsuits, and then just bad press, bad media, and then you get into a place where probably people around you are not going to trust you for what decision you're going to make
Right.
into certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be the same. It's got to be consistency throughout discipline with anything in the NBA.
Plus,
And
you can go first.
No, I was going to say Michael Jordan has a serious gambling addiction, and I personally believe that started when he was playing in the NBA.
I
I
agree.
mean, I don't think he was betting on
I don't think he was betting on his own game.
on his own games,
But I
but
think
maybe he was.
He
But
could have been, but I doubt
I
it.
don't. If anything, he was betting on his team to win because that's just what Mike would do. But
That's what makes him Mike.
yeah, but he definitely had gambling. I think he had gambling issues during his career, but the NBA kept it on the down low. They didn't
Right.
want to get that bad media. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Plus, I think the other thing too, it's like if a star does get caught and they get lightly punched, let's say it's a season. I mean, that opens the door to other players. Like, oh, it's just a season. I could take a year off. Just
Right.
And if I get caught, I get caught. Like, it's just I can make
Yeah.
extra money just gambling on my games.